Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm your host, Charles Long. With me, as always, my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Gloth. How you doing today, Jacob?
I am swell, Charles. I'm excited for another episode of the podcast.
I'm always excited for an episode of the podcast. I also think that may have been my best intro yet. All it took was 200.
You flubbed a couple recently, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I have.
There was a couple mistakes, But
I think the flubs kind of make it funny.
They do, in a way. There was an episode recently where you accidentally did the intro for the outro, and I don't think you noticed.
That does sound like something I would do. Was it the episode that I was sick? Because if it was that episode, I feel that I'm vaguely redeemed because I was very. Oh, okay. Then I'm just an idiot. I'm just a fucking moron. That's okay. I do that occasionally. Keep people on their toes. But yeah, that intro was like an NPR radio level fucking intro. I was happy with that. My voice sounded good. It's smooth. I will not be putting this podcast on my resume. Probably. Maybe an episode. Maybe I'll put one episode on. I'll put journos on the resume.
On your resume?
Yeah, on my resume, I'll put journos.
It's mostly me talking the whole time.
Yeah. No, the episode 200.
Oh, okay. When we actually, did it. Okay, makes sense.
When we wrote and then you edited the pitch, and I'll be like, yeah, I helped edit, and I didn't. I won't. I'll lie on my resume because that's what.
And then they'll hire you to be an editor, and then they'll ask you to do things you don't know how to do, and you'll just make me do your work, and so I'll be doing my job and your job.
You'll be a high-powered attorney, and I'll be like, hey, Jake. Can you make it so there's a fart sound effect in this? I need it at 2 minutes and 23 seconds, please. Thank you. And then you'll do it and then send it to me, and I'll say, not good enough. Do it again, but better this time. And then I don't think you would send me a second one. I think.
No,
but I'm fair enough. Reasonable. I'm putting off the show because I'm not.
That's very reasonable, and it's very clear to me that you're putting off this show because, I don't know why, honestly, because it's I don't.
It's a good title.
You were talking about after we stopped recording last episode about some of the ideas that were floating around your head, and I'm very interested to see if any of those.
No, none of them made it in.
Or you just went nowhere near. Okay.
I did take them, and then I balled them up and I threw them in the bin. All right, modern side effects. 6 people wake up on a space station with no memory of how they got there. They have to figure out where they are, how to escape, all while avoiding a creature that's been stalking them throughout the dark alleys of the space station. All right, so it's a bit like Cube. If you've seen that movie, it's a bit like Alien, Mm-hmm. It's a bit like Sunshine, right? Like there's a lot of space horror, and I know you did a space show last week, but honestly, I guess you could take space out of it and be like they're in a Serbian prison or whatever. But the main point is that they're 6 people and they're all trapped in a very isolated place, and they have no way of escaping. And there's like a creature, So. I am gonna go through the characters first, and then I'm gonna do the story, right? As we typically do. So, pilot, Mitchell, he's a pilot for a commercial space vessel. He is stern, but can show compassion if needed. He's kind of your typical hero guy, He's a pilot. He's got a mustache. He's probably played by the guy who played Harvey Dent in the Dark Knight. What's his name? That guy.
I have no idea
who I'm talking about.
But yeah, I know who you're talking about.
That guy, right? He's kind of a very caricature, masculine pilot guy, And we have Hannah, who is a custodial librarian on the bridge world, Alex Arana, right? She is a know-it-all, but she also happens to be the most intelligent person on the space station, seemingly. And so she kind of gets to be a know-it-all, right? And Hannah and Mitchell have a very contentious relationship because they both kind of think that they should be in charge of the group because Hannah's the smartest, but Mitchell is the best leader and all this stuff, right? And then we kind of get into the more... They're not qualified to lead anybody, right? There's Pablo, who is a travel worker who has a gambling addiction and a strained relationship with his daughter. He is friendly and affable, but also extraordinarily selfish, oftentimes to his own detriment, you know? He's one of those guys, and that's Pablo. Lucille is a baking prodigy with her own pop-up on the Bazaar of Neptune. She's a bit ditzy and flighty, you know, she's not always the most paying attention to things, but she is very kind and helpful when she can be, you know? Lars was a getaway driver who spent the last 3 years on the prison moon. That's just what they call the moon now. It's a prison, but it's also just the moon. And while in jail, he found God and has converted to Judaism. So that's Lars. And last, but certainly not least, we have Sarah. She is a nurse, and she's just very bubbly and optimistic, but she's also kind of meek and quiet, and so she stays to the background of most scenes. All right, you wanna get into the outline of the show that I've written? Or it's more of a movie.
Yeah.
I should have mentioned that at the beginning of this. So I kind of wanted to make this a movie or a TV show, but then the premise really doesn't lend itself to a TV show like length thing, you know? This is a 2-hour story. It really doesn't work very well if it's like 10 hours because at a certain point they would figure it out, you know? They would be like, all right, we can escape now. There's only so many bad things that they can have happen to them, right? And so the movie starts, right? All these 6 wacky characters all wake up in the like a living hall of this space station. It was obviously built there to be some sort of mining outpost or something like that. It was very obviously built to be habited, but it is no longer habited. It's empty, right? Doesn't look like people ran away. It looks relatively clean and put together, but all 6 of these people wake up at around the same time and they start freaking out. You know, everybody's very hostile. People are angry. People are crying, right? Because nobody knows what's going on. But eventually Mitchell, right, with his big, loud, booming voice, is able to calm everybody down, get everybody to just shut the fuck up, you know? Who are you? What's going on? Who are you people, right? That's when everyone gives kind of like a very bare, you know, description of themselves, right? Like I'm a travel writer. I write for National Geographic. I'm a nurse. I work at this hospital, St. Mary's Hospital on Venus. You know, that sort of thing. Stuff that we'll expand on later in the movie, right? And Mitchell is kind of putting himself in charge of the situation, and Hannah comes up. Who do you think you are? You know, I think I should be in charge. No, I should be in charge. We'll write the dialogue better. It'll be more well written on the day, but that's the basic, idea of the fight that they're having, right? And they come to sort of an uneasy truce where it's like, all right, Mitchell, you know, whatever, you know, you're a pilot, you know how to handle people. I'm your second in command for right now. You know, we'll see if that changes. And so they just kind of get a little bit more comfortable in their surroundings. They start looking around, looking for any clues as to why they are stuck here, right? And they have no idea. They know that this is a JMC Mining Corporation outpost, but besides that, and they're all wearing JMC Mining Corporation, what do you call them? They're like overalls, like big overalls, you know? Kind of stuff Michael Myers wears. Okay. And so they're all kind of like getting a little bit more comfortable, right? Chatting. You see people kind of like being a bit more, not friendly, but a bit more affable, right? And this is when Pablo, right, sidles up to Lucille. Lucille is, you know, she's a very pretty young blonde girl. Pablo, he's more in his like late 40s. He's got a bit of a paunch. He's starting to lose his hair, right? And he's, you know, he's really trying hard to hit on her. He's flirting like a motherfucker, and everyone's kind of like taken aback by it a little bit because they're like, dude, we're gonna die here? You're trying to get your end away? And he's like, yeah, we're gonna die here. I'm trying to get my end away, you know? But Lars eventually stops in and says, no, like, we're not doing this right now. We have to focus, right? We need to focus on figuring out why we're here and how we can escape, right? So all of us, let's just go. Everybody go to a different room. Everybody try and find something. Everybody look for clues. You know, effectively split up and look for clues. And even though Lars told Pablo off for being, you know, self-obsessed and like trying to get his, you know, end away, right? Trying to do what he wanted to do, Lars does slink off into the All Faiths, you know, synagogue. What like church, the All Faiths church that they have in airports and shit, you know, one of those. And as he's, you know, beginning to end his prayer, we see something in the darkness, in the blackness of the church, slink down from the ceiling and give him a quick slash across the face, you know? And he doesn't see it. His eyes are closed the whole time. He shits himself, like he's terrified. He just runs out screaming, right? And this is not a huge space station. And so everybody hears and they all convene back in the main living area, right? Lars has a little bit of, he has blood on his face, right, from the slash on his cheek, and he has a little bit of blood on his hands, right? And everybody's like, oh shit, there's something here. Like, we need to, we can't split up and look for clues. We have to stay together because there's something here. I don't know what it is, but it's dangerous. It's gonna kill us if we let it, you know? So we have to stick together. And so that's where the first night ends, you know, of them being on the space station, right? They've found absolutely no helpful information, but they know there's a monster here, seemingly. And so they all kind of sidle up and like get together in the main room. They have this like little heating lamp. It's not, I kind of want to give the vibe of like a campfire situation. All these people are built a campfire and they're all huddled around it and chatting, you know, but it's in space on a space station. So there's no firewood. So it's like a heating lamp basically. And, they go and raid the local Prizzo vending machines. Every vending machine in this place is Prizzo. It's Prizzo themed. The food in the dining hall is Prizzo. That's just a P-R-I-Z-Z-O, exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. That's very important to the naming convention. So that might be a clue to some things. And they raid those and they get the food, right? And they all just like, they're sitting around drinking Prizzo cola and eating chips and like chatting. And Sarah, you know, lets them know that she may have gone to the medical wing of the space station. She may have found a little bit of medical grade alcohol that we could mix in with our sodas and have a grand old time. And so she starts pouring drinks, right? And she doesn't really seem to be drinking very much, but she's, you know, pouring people drinks and they're laughing together and they start to actually talk about their lives and bond, you know. And this is basically the only happy time in the movie, you know. And they're all bonding and they're talking about their dreams and stuff. And Hannah and Lucille are starting to get a bit more friendly because Lucille is, you know, she's a baker, right? She's maybe not the brightest bulb in the bunch, but she does have like a head for numbers and a bit of chemistry, right? Because she has to, because she's a baking prodigy. And so Hannah is like, she's actually finds herself quite fascinated with the process of baking. And Lars, who spent the last 3 years in prison, is talking with Pablo and he's like, tell me about you travel all over the world. Tell me about it, all over the worlds, you know? And Mitchell is kind of looking off pretty unhappily, right? Seems like when he drinks, he gets quiet. He doesn't really get, you know, talkative and friendly and affable. He gets more quiet and like very insular. And so Sarah starts to chat with him and he's just like, hey, you know, what's up? Tell me about what's going on with you. And Mitchell's just kind of shuts her down immediately. And so Sarah goes back to the main group and Mitchell sits by himself, right? And they all decide to go to sleep, right? Mitchell decides, I'll take first watch. It's not that big a deal. So they all go to sleep, they tuck in for the night. All right, whatever. Mitchell decides to watch, but, he's, thinking a lot about himself. He's staring off into the darkness of space and, he's had a few drinks. Maybe he could have accidentally drifted off a few times in the night, but that's besides the point, right? But when Hannah wakes up after 2 hours to give Mitchell some time to sleep, she finds that he's dozed off and Lucille is gone. She's just not there anymore. She's taken, she didn't have anything, but she's, just disappeared completely. And they start looking all over the ship, and Lars concludes it had to have been whatever cut him in the church, right? This creature, broke in, it kidnapped Lucille, and it could do the exact same thing to all of us, right? We need to figure out a way to get out of here right now, right? And so they decide to split into teams and go looking. Mitchell, Hannah, and Sarah all go looking for Lucille in the upper decks, whereas Lars and Pablo decide to go to the lower decks and see if they can find her there, right? And so they're looking around, right? And Hannah manages to find the officers' quarters, basically, for the person who used to run this space station, and she discovers on his personal terminal that every single one of the escape pods has been fired off. So there is no way that they're escaping that way, right? But, I'm sure we can find another way to escape. And so Hannah and Mitchell and Sarah are all looking around, Hannah tells them about the escape pods, and they're like, oh, fuck, that makes our lives harder, but whatever. Meanwhile, Lars and Pablo find themselves in the escape pod bay, right? And the escape pod bay has a little digital counter next to it that says how many escape pods are left, and it says 1. And so Pablo, looking into the escape pod, looking into the bay, sees that, well, the escape pods can only fit 2 people. 3 people at the max. We obviously can't take 5 people in one escape pod. So, Lars, let's get out of here, buddy. It's, me and you, we can leave. I'll show you the world, right? If we get out of this, I will show you the world. Where you can be my travel writing companion. I don't care, right? But you and I can escape. And Lars is at first slightly tempted, but he refuses. He knows he's of a better nature. He knows people like this. He went to prison for being somebody like this, and he won't do it again, right? He has, grown as a person since his stint in jail. And so he and Pablo obviously get into a fight, right? And there's this big scuffle, and there's, throwing hands and elbows and all this stuff. But eventually, Pablo is able to find a sharp thing, implement, and stab it right into Lars's side, leaving him bleeding pretty profusely. Maybe he got him in the lung with a screwdriver, something like that. Something that's gonna put you down, not something that you can walk around with for a bit, And then Pablo goes into the escape pod bay, and, the big pneumatic doors shut behind him, right? And obviously, because this is a sci-fi movie, there's that little glass slit so you can see in between the bay, and stuff. And Pablo's locked the door, and as he's locked the door, Hannah's come down, right? Lars is bleeding everywhere, and Hannah and Sarah and Mitchell are there, so Mitchell's trying to get the door open. Sarah is patching up Lars, and Hannah is yelling at him, there's no more pods, you can't do this. And he isn't paying attention, he doesn't want to hear it, he thinks that it's just a lie. And so he says au revoir, goodbye, through that little slit they have in all the doors. And he opens the door to the escape pod, and it's empty, and he's sucked out into space. Where he, freezes to death. So that's 2 down. Lucille's missing. Pablo is very much dead, right? And so they are kind of oh, fuck, that's really bad. There were 6 of us yesterday. Now there's 2 of us. Or there's 4 of us. We're losing people fast. We're not going to let we're not gonna let Lars die, so come on, like, let's go. And so they pick up Lars and they bring him to the med bay, and Sarah's patching him up, and she's maybe flirting with him a little bit, right? Just being a little bit, flirtatious, right? Maybe it's just because he's nearly died, but, that's just what happens in that scene. Don't look into it at all. And Hannah and Mitchell have an argument, right? And as always, when two people who are big egos butt heads, right? They're screaming at each other that, like, Hannah's like, you let fucking Lucille die, right? And Mitchell yells at her like, well, you said that there were no more pods left, but why the things say that there was one pod left? Did you fuck up somehow? Like, and they're just screaming at each other, right? And finally, Lars is like, I fucking had enough. You two are doing my fucking head in, right? Shut the fuck up. Here's what we're gonna do. Like, and Lars he kind of takes command, but he's like, I'm not in charge here. I'm gonna do what you guys tell me to do, but you need to fucking sort it out. You can't just yell at each other all day. And he kind of mediates the escape plan, effectively. And they decide that, well, the best option that they have, right, is to get to the control bay of the outpost and send, like, signal boost the radio. It will have a cool sci-fi name for it, but radio is the best I can do right now. We'll signal boost the radio and try and get some SOS signals sent out so that somebody will come and get us, right? And that's the best plan. That's the only plan they have. So they decide, well, fuck it. We'll do it. Fine. Let's go. Right? And so they decide they're going to, like, hunker down for a bit, like, just relax, eat some more Prizzo branded snacks, right? And, like, kind of get ready to go, right? And Lars is relaxing in the medical bay, right? He may be a little bit loopy because of the drugs. He's, because the pain medication, because he's been stabbed, right? He's drinking his Prizzo branded drink, and he puts it down, and you hear creaks from the ceiling, right? Something is in the ceiling, and then we cut to black. Cut to the other characters, right? And they're sitting around the heat lamp, drinking their drinks, being like, oh man, this fucking sucks, right? And they hear this blood-curdling scream come from the med bay. Lars has been torn asunder. It doesn't look like a creature did it, though. It looks like, I don't know, like fingernails were tearing at his face and his organs, but he is dead. This man is covered in his own intestines and blood and stuff, And so they're like, I think
I know what's going on, Charlie.
Okay, we'll see.
Can I wager a guess?
Yes, you can guess.
Or should I wait?
Wait. Just wait.
Okay.
We're gonna wait because it's not that subtle. It's not very subtle at all, actually.
I think it's pretty subtle. If I'm right, I think it's very, very subtle.
Yeah. But we'll see. And so they decide, like, oh, we can't wait. We can't stay the night here. We gotta move now because this fucking creature, whatever the fuck it is gonna kill us. We have to go. And so it's this kind of like very high octane, high adrenaline, last ditch, run through the station, right? They're hearing creaks, they're hearing things in the walls and stuff like that. And they're like, that's the creature. We have to go, right? And as they're running, and it's Mitchell, Sarah, and Hannah, right? And they're dodging through all the stuff, right? Like steel beams and stuff. Think of the Nostromo from Alien. It's kind of that, right? And they finally get to the control center, and they lock the door behind them, right? And they can hear the creature beating on it, right? They can hear it. They can hear the monster just like attacking the door viciously, right? And they're like, okay, Hannah, you do this. Mitchell, you do that, right? And Sarah's kind of stuck in the background. She doesn't have all that many skills, so Hannah is signal boosting the radio. We'll come up with there has to be a better sci-fi name for it, but she's signal boosting the radio that while Mitchell is sending out the thing, but she's like so terrified by the monster that like a particularly loud like bang happens, and she like accidentally turns the the power up too high on the radio, which causes a feedback loop that causes the radio to explode, which launches a gigantic piece of glass right through Mitchell's face, which kills him immediately. And Hannah is like, she's terrified. She's crying, weeping at Mitchell. Like, she's, well, not weeping. Her hands are shaking. Her eyes are like, tears are flooding down her face, but she's not sad looking because she's just in so much shock because there's a monster outside and she thinks she just killed this guy, and then Sarah slits her throat, right? Hannah drops dead. Sarah picks up her phone, dials one number. I'd like to request a pickup from the Prizzo R&D Outlook station, outpost station. And she gets picked up from the station, right? And as her ship flies away, with the final shot of the station that we'll see is Lucille, right, in the observation deck, way at the top of the station, way above anywhere that anyone got, right? She's like covered in blood, right? She's naked and she's just waving goodbye to the station, right? And we could see there are cuts all over her body and all over her face and stuff. And then she finally gets to Prizzo HQ, in which she talks to the R&D scientists and tells them how much of a huge success that their latest trial run on their hallucinogens were. Absolutely phenomenal success, right? It caused one guy to see a monster, right? And then it got the whole crew believing in monsters. Then this guy tears his own guts out with medical equipment and they blame it on the monster. It was genius, by the way. Like, this is Sarah talking. Absolutely genius, by the way, to have one escape pod be labeled there. Like, perfect. Because Pablo and Lars got there. Lars got in a fight, right? It was crazy. And she's kind of talking about it as you would recount a TV show or a movie, you know? And that's just how the movie ends, is with Sarah recounting all of the crazy shit that the Prizzo snacks and the Prizzo food did to these these people, you know? And we'll also, you know, and if you watch it a second time, you'll notice she never she never drinks any of the drinks. She never eats any of the food, right? She doesn't drink any alcohol. You can see the drugs that she's giving. Like, there'll be a recommended dosage and she'll do twice that for Lars when she's patching him up, right? Because that's how we keep him, you know, fucked up, right? And so that's the twist. Modern side effects. That was the show.
Side effects.
Well,
I like that. Additionally, I think you should, certain people will be attracted to certain snacks or drinks, right? And depending on what it is, it'll be it'll explain, like, the different effects that everyone had.
Oh, that makes sense.
I don't know, like, tasty cakes are the ones that make you see the monsters or something like that.
Well, I kind of wanted the monster to be something only Lars experienced, right? Like, he's the only one who saw the monster.
Into tasty cakes.
Yeah.
He's really into Prizzo tasty cakes, and he's just
Prizzo
munching.
tasty cake. Yeah, all the time, all day. Yeah. And Lucille,
all the food should be like junk food too.
Oh, there's no apples here.
Like
this is
cakes, chips,
tasty cakes, chips, all that stuff. You know, and Lucille, like, she was just not built for it. She was kind of the weak link of the test subjects, and so she got a hit of that like crazy hallucinogenic juice, right? That's really supposed to be very subtle and take a few hours to kick in. Almost immediately, she got completely naked, like scratched her body all over and wandered away, you know? Like, she just wasn't built for it.
Maybe because they were picked based on, like, their part of the reason they were picked is kind of like what snacks they would be more interested in, right? And the ones that were meant for, I don't know, one of the guys who's, like, bigger.
Yeah. Mitchell.
You know, has more muscle mass to him or more, fat to him. So that when she eats some of his food, or, like, the food that that's targeted towards him, which is more potent. Yeah. And because she's smaller and maybe not as accustomed to it, like, maybe he's a heavy drinker or something like that, so he's got a stronger, I don't know.
Just a stronger
his body's tougher. She's not. So, like, just a little bit of his food makes her go crazy right away. Yeah. Yeah, I like that a lot. I'm a big fan. Big fan. That's a cool show. I didn't see I didn't see like I didn't put the whole Prizzo. Well, I mean, you obviously said the Prizzo thing was important early on, but I don't know. I thought maybe it was gonna like mutate them or something. The drug thing and like everything being fake. I did not. I probably got it halfway through, but I thought it was pretty good.
It's
good
fun.
Twist. And then that one person is also a plant is also good because I didn't see that coming until the very end.
Yeah. Oh, Sarah was a plant. I actually lied to you at the very beginning of this. Sarah's character description states, an undercover scientist who is helping run the experiment. She has a bubbly and optimistic outlook, but mostly stays to the background. I made that nurse stuff up. Right? I mean, it makes sense, but she's not actually a nurse.
Yeah.
She just understands the very basics of it, but she's a scientist. And she's,
you lied to me in the pitch. Wow.
Yeah.
That's the first for the Original Pilots podcast.
It's the first time I've admitted to it. What? Yeah, but that was the movie. Modern Side Effects. And, do you want to pick the title now? Or, we have to decide who we're playing in the movie. I don't want to play
a pair of scientists at the Prizzo. Oh, you know what we should be? We should be two guys in a Prizzo ad that's like playing on the TV.
I was gonna say exactly that. I think we should be like in a background advertisement, like on the posters or something, you know, or just like like we said, a repeated loop of us, you know, clinking two Prizzo cans together and then drinking them and saying that sort of thing.
Just a big drink the Prizzo grape soda.
Yeah, you drink the grape, I'll drink the peach flavored, and that shows that we can be friends even though we don't like the same flavored drink.
I don't like
friendship is key. Well, I don't like peach, so get over it.
You don't like peaches? Well,
I don't like peach flavored things. I love peaches. Peach flavored things, it depends very heavily on what the thing is. But yeah, that was the movie, Modern Side Effects. It was I've been thinking about it, but I wrote it all this morning, and I was kind of surprised that Sarah turned out to be, you know, so evil. I knew she was going to be a setup, a plant, but she was like a real fucking monster. I also was kind of thinking about putting this in the same universe as what was the show I did that was Biochemical Monsters or whatever the fuck it's called.
It's funny that I knew exactly what you're talking about. I was called Bio something. Bio.
Yeah.
Bio horror. Bio. Like that.
Biochemical. Yeah. It doesn't matter. It truly doesn't matter. I was just thinking, you know, whatever company that she worked for will be the company that owns Prizzo, or will be the brand of the outpost, you know, the mining outpost they're on, because it's all fake, you know. But yeah, thank you everyone for listening to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I've been your host, Charles. Along with me, as always, my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob. I was gonna let you pick the title after the outro, as we did last week. And podcasting associate Jacob Gloth. If you like what you heard here and you want to hear more, please give us a like, a follow, subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog, tell your cat. And remember, it's Jake's turn to pick a title. So pick a number, 1 through 10.
4.
The Fifth Corner.
The Fifth Corner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the title.
I don't know what to do
so
I'll figure that out, I guess.
Yeah, you'll figure it out. It's a play. It's a play on the fourth corner, 4 corners of the world. So do something with that.
Fifth corner. Is there going to be some dimensional stuff? Maybe we'll see. I don't know.
Maybe. But thank you all for listening, and have a lovely evening.